and welcome to another astrology weather report where we're going to look at what's unfolding for us in the sky in the week of December 10th to December 17th. And there's quite a few different energies taking place here, so we're going to have a bit of a look at them all. But particularly we're going to focus on one energy halfway through this video where we look at how it's going to affect all signs. And then after that, we've gone through all signs, I'm actually going to look at the final energy that will be playing out a little later in the week, early next week. So you might want to stick around and listen to that to see how that's going to play out for you personally and how that's going to work in with the energies that are already unfolding in the week to come. So it's going to be interesting. But what is also quite interesting is the amount of energy that is currently at play here in the sign of Capricorn. We have the South Node, Pluto, the Sun, Saturn, and now Mercury in Capricorn. So this is a very heavy condensed energy. Anyone born at this time right now is going to have a lot of Capricorn influence in their life. You'll have, excuse my son in the background there playing Fortnite. But this is where the eclipse actually took place on the 6th. We're in this house here, Capricorn and Cancer. And I had so many clients sharing with me that they had had headaches, that they were delving into old crap, old past life issues like early childhood issues that kept coming up and revealing itself, thought patterns that were just dragging them down. I had clients contact me saying that their marriages had ended, and that some clients contacted me to say that they had lost a job and then immediately the day after gotten a new job that was much better, more fantastic. So incredible stories that have come out of this eclipse that occurred on the 6th. So what happened for you? How did it play out for you around the 6th of January? Well, I want to talk a little about the general nature of our forecasts that we use here on Astrology and also on my own channel. The fact is that as we go through all these energies and all the things that are playing out in the sky right now, we're talking about general impact. But, you know, we really need the context of a natal chart to know exactly and more pinpointedly what in your life is going to be affected. So, you know, I often get comments on my YouTube videos. I've seen them on Lada's videos as well, where people say, this is not true. It didn't work out that way for me at all. Well, this is why we actually need to know our charts to understand, well, what was actually playing out pivotally for you at the time of these particular transits. For example, if you had your rising degree here at around 26 degrees of Capricorn or 26 degrees of Cancer, you can expect that the eclipse that occurred on the 6th of January would have impacted you powerfully. But if your rising degree happened to be down here at 0 degrees of Capricorn or 0 degrees of Cancer, the effect would not have been as profound as it would have been for someone with their rising degree at 26, right here where the nodes currently are. So that is one difference, and that's just one of like hundreds of differences between charts. So, you know, we can't go into the finite detail for every single person. So we give a general overview of the energy playing out through, for example, last week, the eclipses in these particular houses. But it may not be 100% accurate for you because you might have something that differentiates your experience from the general masses. Another example can be if you had the Lord of, say, your first house and it was conjunct with transiting Jupiter. Just say you were Aquarius rising, so the Lord of your first house is Saturn, and just say Jupiter, this is the planet Jupiter here, was sitting right on your Saturn at this time. Well, that would be a very powerful influence that would sort of override other things that were occurring in your chart. So you really need to either understand your natal chart or get an astrologer like Lada, like Krasi, like myself, to do a reading for you to help you understand personally what is unfolding in your life at any given time. So the readings that we give here, they're more general, and so I'd encourage you to get a personal reading if you're particularly concerned about something that's going on in your life right now. But it's also great to get a reading to be able to learn about your chart more and to learn about astrology more. In fact, we astrologers, we do that all the time. We're learning from one another all the time. It's one of the best resources available to us as astrologers to garner insights from other people who've had perhaps more life, like other astrologers who've had more life experience or who've done different types of study in a different field of astrology, and it just broadens our perspective as well. I'm quite regularly getting readings to help understand my life, to help understand different styles of astrology. So I would really encourage you to consider doing that, as well as viewing our videos each week. But if you want to know more and more personal and more in-depth, then look at getting a reading from one of the wonderful astrologers on Lada's site, including me. So let's move on and have a look at the energies as they're playing out. So we have January 10th to 7th. Well, during this time, and you can kind of see this here, all the planets, including the moon, all the planets, not counting the nodes here, are falling in this one side of the chart. So if we had, let's say we had a dividing line straight up, let's actually probably a little bit off, straight up there, or you could even have a dividing line that kind of ran across maybe a little bit. But either way, there is going to be an energy of all the planets in one particular side of the chart. Say in this case, if you were Aquarius rising, as we can see here, here's the Aquarius rising, this is going to put all of the planetary energy on that side of your chart, the eastern hemisphere of your chart. And when that occurs in transit, also it applies to your birth chart as well. If you're born with all the planets in one hemisphere, then it impacts you in a certain way, either by transit or to have it in your natal chart. So right now, anybody who is Aquarius rising, and to a lesser extent Pisces or Capricorn rising, you are going through a period that's going to last for about 2 weeks, where the emphasis in your chart, I say 2 weeks until the moon sort of moves over into this section, the emphasis in your chart is going to be on free will. Now is the time, if you are Pisces, Aquarius, particularly strong for Aquarius, or Capricorn rising, when you are going to be able to really manifest things in your life through your own decision-making process, through your own energy, through your own pursuit of what you want. You can do the free will thing. You can even, do a little bit of, what's that, Abraham Hicks preaches law of attraction. And you can sort of put it out there to the universe. I want to manifest X, Y, Z. And it can actually start to unfold for you at this time, because the planets are weighted to the hemisphere of free will, where you make a decision, go for it, and it can manifest for you. So it's a great empowering time to get jobs done, to do things, to start new projects, or to launch a new product, or to make a new contact, or do some networking towards a certain vision, a certain end, and you can really achieve a lot at this time. So make the most of it if you are one of those 3 rising signs, particularly Aquarius rising. Now, if you happen to be, let's have a look here, if you happen to be Leo rising, the opposite is going to be true for you. And to a lesser extent, so here's Leo rising, to a lesser extent, Virgo and Cancer are also going to be affected by this energy. In this instance, as you can see here, all the planets fall in the hemisphere of free will. So for Leo rising people, for Virgo rising people, Cancer rising people, it's in the Western Hemisphere, the side of the world where the sun sets, and this is where the energy is strongest for you. Transiting energy is playing out most of all in your natal chart on the hemisphere of fate. So for any of these rising signs, in this instance, we're not really, it's more powerful for your rising sign than it is for your sun or your moon. That's really what we're talking about here. So let's forget sun and moon for this particular description here. This is about rising signs. So this, if you're Leo and to a lesser extent Virgo or Cancer, it's about fated events that are coming to you. It's not a time to push and strive and try to achieve through your own exertion, because you'll just end up being frustrated. The planets are not supporting your free will exertion in life. What they are supporting is bringing fated events to you, opportunities, chances, synchronistic events, meeting with somebody that, you never imagined was possible, getting an opportunity that might land in your lap to, get some publicity that you never even dreamed you would ever have. So this can bring, like I said, fated events, but striving to get that publicity of your own free will is just you're going to be tearing your hair out. It's going to be very frustrating and won't achieve anything except your own frustration. So what you really need to do now, if you're one of these three rising signs, is let go and let God. Allow fated events to come to you. Allow the universe to have your back. So the universe wants to show you, particularly these three rising signs at the moment, the universe wants to show you how good it can be to you. Let it unfold. Don't put up the barriers. Don't fight it. Let the fated events occur. And sometimes these can be fated events that are challenging. Maybe, a fated event where I'm not saying this is going to happen to everybody, but let's say you happen to be in a car crash that didn't injure you or anything, but it sort of made your car a bit of a write-off. And you're like, well, why did that fated event occur? Well, maybe it happened so that you would be able to update your crappy old car that was really on its last legs and get something newer, more reliable, better for you. So we need to look at things from the whole big picture rather than, oh, that's a pain in the neck that happened, or, why did this happen to me? Woe is me. We need to look at the big picture of, well, maybe this is serving my higher good. Trust that fated events are happening because the universe has your back, particularly if you're Virgo, Leo, or Cancer. And it's not just negative either. You can have wonderful fated events that lead you further into your destiny. So very exciting time for both of these rising signs, Leo and Aquarius, and like I said, to a lesser extent, the other four signs I mentioned as well. So get ready for that. It'll be lots of fun for you over the next 2 weeks, and it will actually play out a little on and off again over the next couple of months as we have all this energy sitting in these signs until Mars starts to move out here, and then the energy will start to sort of balance out a little bit more. So lots to look forward to over the next couple of months if you're one of these signs, and start using the energy for your benefit. You utilize it. Either trust God or get into it yourself. Put your own effort and free will into things, and now's the time to accomplish in either of those manners. So the first energy that we are going to be dealing with this week, apart from what I've just described to you, is actually the conjunction of the Sun and Pluto. This happens once a year whenever the Sun transits across Pluto. So here we are up here, there's little Pluto sitting with the Sun, and they're connecting exact at the same degree on the 11th of January. Now this is going to, like I said, happens once a year, so it's an energy that we're not unfamiliar with. It's not like it occurs once every 30 years, and so it's a very unusual transit in our lives. It is a familiar transit. We can have a bit more intensity. We can either, personally, we can be more intense, we can be more controlling, we can display more manipulative behavior. These are the energies of Pluto that can be sort of empowered, if you like, by the sun, or charged up by the sun. But we can also, if it's not happening within us, we can actually be receiving from outside us, directed towards us, these energies of people trying to manipulate us, people trying to control us, people with very intense feelings and passions directed towards us personally. There is an energy of paranoia that can play out with this as well. Like, it's going to only last a day, 2 days perhaps. You might feel this energy, but paranoia can rise up. You might become a bit obsessed about things. It's the nature of Pluto to be a little bit obsessive, a little bit paranoid, and often this will play out, in this case, regarding Capricornian things, or whatever house Capricorn represents for you, because that's where this energy is taking place. So some obsessions that might come out, some hidden things that might get exposed by the light. The sun is the light, exposing the god of the underworld, Pluto. And so there's this exposure of what is hidden within us, and what we've been denying, what we've been ignoring for the last year. And the sun connecting with Pluto might tend to shine its light in on the hidden dark things within us. It's also, on a positive side, it's good for revealing our any ego-based hang-ups that we have, or any ego-based actions that are actually causing us detriment. And if you're into astrology, you're somebody, generally speaking, who wants to improve themselves, to improve their karma in life, to unravel what's blocking you, what's holding you back. This is often what leads people into the realm of studying astrology and seeking more knowledge through astrology. So this transit is actually really good, again, for shining a light on ego-based things. Pluto is known as the ego smasher. And when he does a hard transit, like particularly Pluto square, those kinds of things, Pluto square himself, or Pluto square a natal planet, personal planet, he is all about smashing any ego, mental thoughts, any ego feelings that are detrimental to who you are and that are keeping you held in the lower realms. So here is the ego smasher, and here he is with the planet of the ego, the sun. So ego can be a very big theme when they connect in the sky by transit. Now, this is quite interesting, because this morning I read online a story about a French writer who has let his ego very much run away with him. In a Marie Claire magazine, he's a 50-year-old writer who said he has no interest in 50-year-old women because their bodies are not good enough any longer, and he's only interested in 20 to 25-year-old women because they're more beautiful. And all the comments I was reading online is, oh my God, the ego of this 50-year-old man, unbelievable. So for him, he's going in early with this energy. The light is being shone for him, whether he's into astrology or not, I don't know. But a week early for him, the light's being shone on his ego and his misplaced, misguided ego. So if there's anything within you that's sort of an egoic thing, feeling like I am too good for people, or even an egoic thing where you're feeling like you're not good enough, and the ego is small where it shouldn't be small, where you should be empowered and embracing your own personal power. So the opposite can be true. This is also going to be revealed to you around this time, the 11th of January. You're going to, maybe have the light shone on your own lack of ego and a need for a more egoic presence within yourself, to assert yourself appropriately in situations, to really stand up for who you are and not let other people dominate, control, or manipulate you, which, as we just mentioned, is going to be an energy of this transit anyway. So all these things are going to be emphasized with this transit, and you're going to look at yourself, mostly because things will be being enacted around you with regard to control, manipulation, egomania, that sort of thing. So you will see it in yourself, or you will need to assert yourself and embrace your personal power more, because it will be playing out in the people around you. So just be aware of that. But it is positively on a more positive note, it is a great energy as a follow-up to the eclipse that occurred on the 6th, because again, it is dealing with things that are deep, that are hidden within us, that we weren't aware of, that we didn't sort of, that weren't functioning in our consciousness, and these unconscious things can be brought up. The light is shone on them, the sun shining its light, like I said, great analogy. The sun will shine its light on these things, and we can then purge from these things. Again, Pluto is the god of the underworld, but Pluto energy is kind of like Scorpio energy. It rules tips, it rules plumbing, it rules excretion, it rules anything that, you know, is rubbish, the stuff that we purge from, that we throw out, that we send away. And so the light is shone on things that we need to release, get rid of, purge, excrete, etc. So this is what's happening right at this moment, obviously through this French guy, and in the larger world around us, and we will see this playing out more and more towards the 11th of January when the transit becomes exact. And then it will, as the sun continues to move on, it will tend to dissipate a little. So that's what we're looking at with this transit. Now, if this transit of the sun conjuncting Pluto is also falling on a personal part of your chart, remember what I described in the opening of this video. You know, maybe it's happening, oh gosh, off the top of my head, I didn't write it down. I think it's happening at 22 degrees of Capricorn. Just say you have a planet or a rising sign or a moon, like that's very personal, at say 22 degrees here of Libra. Well, this energy is going to be squaring you personally. So you can expect something from this energy to play out for you at a very personal level, whereas for the rest of us who do not have something at this point, it's going to be more general. It's going to be a little less intense for us. And so, you know, if you don't have a point here or squaring over the same area of sort of Aries, 22 degrees of Aries, or opposite down here at 22 degrees of, if you don't have a significant planet in one of these spots, then it may not be felt as strongly by you. And you'll put a comment in the comment section that says, what a load of rubbish, it didn't play out like that for me at all. Well, no, it didn't, because your personal planets were not being triggered, and it was happening in a much more broad, general sense for you. So I hope this kind of explains why we need to know our natal chart well. Not just, yeah, I've got a Capricorn sun, or yeah, my moon's in Cancer. It's much more accurate than that. It's about degrees. It's about what planet is being triggered by this energy. Just say the moon, if you had a Libra moon that was being triggered by this energy at 22 degrees Libra. You could expect that it might be happening with your mother, or nurturing figures, or maternal figures, or matriarchal women in your community that this might be playing out through. So it all depends on the planet and the degree and what aspect it's making. So it's a very complex science, astrology, which is why we need to look more deeply at our chart or get assistance from an astrologer. So this is actually going to be very unsettling for anyone with a personal planet at this point. Some outer world event. If one of your personal planets or the ascendant degree is being triggered by this conjunction, you might find something in your outer world, third dimensional reality, is manifest. So it might not be a light shining in on your ego for you to, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I was behaving in that way, I'm going to put a stop to that. Now, it might be more than just a light shining on your behavior. It might be a presence of somebody in your life, or some sort of event that occurs that's unsettling, that changes the dynamics. Like I said, if it was a moon that was being affected, it could be that your relationship with your mother takes on a more manipulative tone for that period, or like I said, it depends on the planet. So it can mean that there is something in your outer world reality that is altered through this transit. So it's actually, back to the general reading, it's very transformative. Pluto is transformation, and the sun is ego. So it's a transformation, an annual transformation that we go to when the sun and Pluto connect in the sky, where we, our collective ego and our personal egos is transformed in some way, and let's hope it's up-leveled. Let's hope this January the 11th that the ego of the collective in the world takes a step up towards greater consciousness and leaves behind that sense of entitlement, or I'm better than you, or you know, that sort of approach where the ego is playing out negatively. Let's leave more of that behind and start embracing more of the we are one, we care, we're kind, we are less concerned with, you know, our greed and our pumping up our ego unnecessarily, or, you know, like the French writer, thinking that women are only valuable for their bodies. Oh God, I tell you, it made my blood boil. Anyhow, so this is the energy of Pluto conjunct the sun. Now on January, let me just rub this out, on January the 14th, and it's going to happen at midnight to be exact, at least for Australia it'll be happening at midnight on January the 14th. The rest of the world, it will sort of be happening on the 13th, so depending where you are. But on at midnight on January the 14th, we're going to have the first of 3 hits that are going to occur over 2019 of transiting Jupiter. Here's Jupiter making a square to Pisces. Now these energies are there's a similarity here. I mean, traditionally Jupiter rules the sign of Pisces. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. They're both connected to belief systems. One is the higher octave of belief system, so it's more spirituality, and Jupiter can sometimes be connected to religion and philosophy. So, but they're generally the same themes. They rule travel, other cultures, belief systems, creativity. You know, there's a lot that's similar about them. But this energy, and usually when Jupiter makes a square to a planet, the impact is not as, let's say, negative as one of the more difficult planets, like a Mars square, Saturn square, those sorts of planets. Jupiter is the planet of luck, abundance, positivity, optimism, and he's very buoyant and expansive. Now this is the big word for Jupiter, and I say big, he's the biggest planet in the solar system. So when he touches something, either through a square or through a trine or through a, you know, any type of aspect, whatever he touches, he's going to expand the energy represented by that planet. So with this square from Jupiter to Neptune, we are receiving an expansion of Neptunian energy. Now, because it's a square, which is a more difficult aspect, it provides challenges that must be overcome. That's what a square gives us, if you like, challenges that we can overcome and succeed through putting some exertion into. And it's going to bring about some challenges for us all regarding the shadow side of Neptunian things. So what is this? Well, the shadow side of Neptune, well, let's start with the positive side. The positive side of Neptune is anything that is spiritual, anything that is divine love. It's quite a romantic energy. It's very otherworldly. It's connected to divine realms and angelic realms. Neptune is about divine creativity, you know, the type of creativity that's inspired, not just I need to express who I am. It's about I've received a download of just this amazing creative energy from the angelic realms. So it's divinely inspired creativity. It's also the planet of healing, divine healing, inspired healing, and it's connected to Neptune rules escaping for holidays, retreats, going to ashrams and yoga retreats and day spas, and anything where you can escape and relax and take it easy away from the daily grind is ruled by Neptune. So he's really good. He's a beautiful planet. I love the Neptunian energy. Actually, most Pisces rising people would resonate very much with the energy of Neptune. But the shadow side of Neptune is to be escaping with negative things like drugs, alcohol, retreating from society because you just can't cope anymore. So mental problems can often be associated with Neptune because the energy of the world can be just too harsh for sensitive Neptunian souls. And so they kind of lose it. They lose touch with reality in a mental level, or they need to go to, hospitals or mental institutions or places where they need a period of recovery because they're not coping. Delusions and deceptions are also ruled by Neptune, where we have this fantasy life. It's the most imaginative planet, and our imaginations are fantastic when we have strong Pisces or Neptune in the chart. But this can also, on the flip side, be an escapist tendency that you escape from reality with. Okay, there's no nice eligible men in my sphere of reality, so I will just escape from that negative sort of feeling in the world and go into my head and be happy in my fantasy and my imagination instead, and be fulfilled there instead of pursuing relationships. This is probably talking from experience here, but that's what the kind of thing Pisces and Neptune strong people will do. They will, if reality isn't living up to their dreams and expectations, then they just retreat into their head, which probably deprives them of the actual pleasures of of experience in reality, because they just run away and retreat because the real world can be too tough for these people. So when we've got Jupiter expanding the imaginatory sense of Neptune, the delusionary, being deluded by people, being overly trusting, that's another Neptunian downfall, being too trusting of people, to believing people for that people are what they say they are, and then being, oh my God, disappointed because they are not what they say. So disillusionment, having disappointments, this is all ruled by Neptune. It's also trusting where you shouldn't be trusting. Neptune, that's just the energy of Neptune. So Jupiter is sending a square and expanding these things, these sort of more difficult aspects of Neptune. So at this time, on the 14th of January, delusions and deceptions, and even the energy around this time can play out this way. So a couple of days before, a couple of days after, delusions and deceptions might be common in your life, especially if you have a planet at these degrees, which is 14 degrees of Pisces or Sagittarius. Don't make any risky moves financially or emotionally or relationally at this time. Just give things a couple of days to cool off. Don't sign any business contracts at this time. Give it a couple of days, because you don't want to be deceived. You don't want to misreading the fine print. You don't want to end a relationship based on a whim and then, oh my God, I didn't really mean that, and now it's all over and done with, and what have I done? You don't want to have regrets. So it's better to sit tight and wait a couple of days before making any big or risky type of moves with this energy playing out. Now, on the positive side, Neptune square Jupiter, or Jupiter square Neptune, in a natal chart can actually be very, very empowering for people. In fact, a lot of successful people who've got this placement in their chart, a square from Neptune to Jupiter, can have this sort of almost over-the-top optimism and faith that actually really does get them places in life, because they just believe, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to do what I think I'm going to, what I aspire to do. And depending on how the other planets are supporting that, it just can really actually manifest for these people. Jim Carrey, prime example, like really good example of a person with this. Before he became famous and had his first 3 hit movies, he, as the story goes, wrote himself a check for $1 million and, you know, had that on the dashboard of his car, believed, had that expanded optimism. I can achieve this. And that's exactly what happened for him. He had phenomenal success. Anne Frank, she was another one with this aspect, and we know the story of Anne Frank, who was sort of isolated in a attic in Germany during World War II, who had this tremendous optimism. Jupiter, Neptune is optimism and faith that everything's going to be okay, and I will just go into my imagination and daydream about what it's going to be like when this is all over and we're free again. You know, she was phenomenally optimistic about what her circumstances were. Frustrated at times, yes, but there was a general spirit of optimism in her writing through the diary that she left. Buddy Holly as well, he also had this in his natal chart. His natal chart was really quite a difficult one. He had a Grand Cross, and we know he died very, very young, which wasn't connected to this energy, I'll just point out. However, he was like blithely optimistic. He knew, like, I am going to be a successful musician, and he was determined and he was driven and he believed, and that's exactly what happened. Plus, we listen to a lot of his music and the lyrics, very romantic. Neptune, planet of romance, Jupiter expansion. Neptune is music, Jupiter expanding that. Buddy Holly had 18 months where he was signed to, I forget which record company it was, but he was signed to a record company. And in that 18 months, he was so prolific that, you know, he died 18 months after signing the contract, and he just left such an enormous body of work for someone who was only 21. It's quite phenomenal, his story. And of course, Jupiter was expanding this love of music, his romantic nature as displayed in the lyrics to a lot of his songs. And so this is another great example of how this energy played out in a person's natal chart. But back to what's happening for us with this energy, I would strongly encourage you at this time to get, if you're making any big decisions or any big moves, to get some advice from people that you trust before you actually sign on the dotted line. In fact, I wouldn't sign on any dotted lines till this energy is over. But if you're considering doing something, seek advice from your parents or financial advisors or marriage counselors, you know, people who you respect and who you trust. Be careful of delusions with people that you don't trust, who haven't proven themselves in your life prior. Get some advice before taking action with this energy. And avoid any negative Neptunian escapism. If you are prone to going and having a drink when you're feeling down, don't do it at this time, because Jupiter is going to expand the negative aspects of Neptune, which is addiction to drugs, to alcohol. Neptune is also connected to being a martyr, you know, sacrificing yourself for someone else's happiness. It feels like the noble thing to do, the honorable thing to do, to deny yourself so someone else can be happier. Don't do that at this time, because manipulative, exploitative people, remember we've got this energy playing out, Sun, Pluto at the same time, or a couple of days earlier, so the resonance will still be there. People will exploit you. People will manipulate you. Do not do anything that is about self-denial for anyone else's happiness at this time. Avoid that. Avoid being overly trusting. Really be conscious of this. And if you need to write yourself a note and stick it on the bathroom mirror so you see it when you wake up in the morning and you're like, right, I am not going to give myself away. I'm not going to give my energy away. I'm not going to martyr myself for someone else's happiness today. Be strong, be determined. It'll take some effort to put boundaries in place in your life regarding those things, because Neptune dissolves boundaries in your personal life, and Jupiter is expanding the dissolving of boundaries. So be aware and be strong. Now, I would also encourage you before the 14th 13th in other parts of the world that aren't Australia, or you know, aligned with the east coast of Australia, Japan and places like that would probably also fall into this energy playing out on the 14th. But I would be getting your financial situation and just your resources in general secure before this transit. So, you know, you don't end up giving your money away to some Nigerian scammer that sends you an email, you know, like that's delusion in the max there. But, you know, having your finances safe, maybe even if you're prone to being duped, maybe even saying, right, this is the amount of money I'm going to spend around this, say, a 3-day period around the 14th of January, and say to yourself, I'm only going to spend X amount of money around this 3 day and no more. And there's a boundary put in place to protect your finances and your resources from being swindled, being duped, you know, having the wool pulled over your eyes. So take effort now, or take stock now of how can I protect my assets, my resources at this time, so that you're not swindled before this transit. Now, on the positive sense, it is a great time to go and enjoy some music, you know, go and listen to some music in the park or at a concert hall or something like that. Any type of art, you know, go to a gallery, any type of spiritual pursuit. You know, last summer I went to a yoga retreat in the Blue Mountains, which was magnificent. Doing that sort of thing if you get the opportunity, and that's a really great thing to do at this time. Doing some positive escapism in that sense. Any type of holiday as well would be supported with this transit. Also, Jupiter will be expanding the holiday experience, the feeling of escaping, the feeling of getting away from it all. It's a blessed time to take a holiday. So you could channel this energy into something more positive, like anything cultural or artistic or creative, or escapist in a positive sense. So this is actually can be really beneficial. So let's take a look at which house we are going to experience the energy of, let's say, confusion and lack of perspective in, or having your fantasy life enhanced. Jupiter can expand your fantasy life for good or ill, depending on what you're fantasizing about. Or Jupiter can be expanding your contact with fraudulent and deceptive people. Let's look at where these things might play out depending on your rising sign. So we'll start, as we always do, with the sign of Aries. Whoopsies, here he is. Okay, so with Aries rising, Neptune falls in your 12th house. So for Aries rising people, you might be, I'm just going to set my notes up here in front of me so I'm not always looking down. That might actually work better if it would stay there, which it's not. Okay, starting again. Confusion, lack of perspective. This can happen in 12th house areas. So you might be, if you're Aries rising, feeling confused at this time about your spiritual beliefs. You might feel confused about where to go for a holiday. This is a 12th house thing. Holidays, traveling overseas. You might be feeling very confused. Oh, should I go here or should I go there? And, you know, a bit indecisive, lacking perspective about what you need. Also, you might be feeling confused about forms of healing. So maybe you've had a bad back for a couple of weeks and you're feeling a bit, at this time, you know you need to get something done, but you're feeling confused. You know, should I go to the chiropractor or should I get some acupuncture done? And any form of healing can be a little bit, you can be confused about what's best for you at this time as well. So anything to do with healing, creativity, traveling and escaping, and, you know, spirituality, these things can be a bit confusing for you at the moment. Now, your fantasy life will take on the realm of dreams. Okay, so Jupiter can be very much expanding your dream life for an Aries person at this time. So this is also the house of karma. The 12th house is the house of karma. So you might be experiencing some sort of karmic dreams. And these are just, you know, the dreams you wake up from and you're like, it was so real. It was like I was really there. Or the kind of dreams that you end up getting deja vu from at some point in life. These are the type of dreams that can really manifest for Aries rising people over this period, you know, let's say the 2 to 3 days around the 14th of January. So that is the fantasy realm that might be playing out for you guys. And connection with fraudulent people. Well, this can occur, like the 12th house isn't particularly connected to any one people group, so to speak, but it is connected to spirituality. So watch out for like spiritual gurus or spiritual type, you know, leaders who end up deceiving you, or you know, pulling the wool over your eyes, or causing you to be a little bit naive about certain realities. You know, watch out for cult figures with if you're Aries rising. So these would be the people that I would say, if you are Aries rising, you would need to have an awareness about. Okay, so the next sign is Taurus, as we know, and this puts Pisces in the 11th house. So if you are Taurus rising, this puts Pisces in the 11th house. I should just also point out, last week I explained in my video how we work with rising sun and moon signs. So if you're at all unclear, pop back to last week's video, because it does take a bit of time to explain it, and I'm not going to do that in every single video. So if you know, maybe now and again I will, for those who missed it, but just pop back to last week's video if you really want to understand how rising sun and moon signs play out with this analysis that we do. So Taurus rising people have Pisces, Pisces is their 11th house, and Neptune is there, and Jupiter is expanding 11th house things connected to Neptune. So there can be confusion and lack of perspective about your social groups. You might, you know, be feeling like, oh, you know, all my friends, because it's friendships are seen by the 11th house, all my friends have gone to the beach and they didn't ask me, and I wasn't included, and I don't know why. So you can be a bit confused about dynamics in your friendship circles or larger groups of people that you're involved with. Now, the 11th house is an energy connected to Aquarius. So sometimes when our 11th house is being triggered, this applies to anyone's 11th house, when our 11th house is being triggered, we can feel a bit eccentric, or a bit left out, or a bit not included, because the energy of Aquarius is the genius, the eccentric, the quirky, the unique, like people who are not common. So we can feel this energy of not quite fitting in, very Uranian, to not quite fit in. Some people are proud of not fitting in. Yep, I'm unique, I'm different, nobody in the world's like me, and some people love that. Sometimes though it can play out that you feel like, why do I just not belong, you know? So it can play out a number of different ways. But this is the energy that might be unfolding for people who are Taurus rising in this week. Jupiter will be expanding that feeling for Neptunian people of a bit of confusion or a lack of perspective around your connection with large groups of people, with friendship circles that you function in. Your fantasy life might also be enhanced with regard to what you can achieve. The 11th house is connected to rewards and gains for the work that you've done. And so you might spend a lot of time over that period, the 14th of January, fantasizing about what you can accomplish in life and what the rewards might be. You know, you might sit there daydreaming, looking out the window, especially with Pisces energy playing in here, looking out the window and thinking, you know, imagine if I won an Academy Award, what dress would I wear? Oh yes, I'd dress like this, and this is what I'd say in my speech. And you know, this is the kind of fantasy, I'm really good at that sort of stuff, the kind of fantasy element you can have when you're Taurus rising. You daydream. Pisces, Neptune being expanded, you daydream about the rewards and gains you can receive in life. Now, you can also be affected at this time by fraudulent and deceptive people from within your friendship circle, your friendship groups, or within large groups of people. Maybe you're part of some political activist group or some humanitarian organization or some sort of club, and there's some person there, maybe the chair of the organization or chairman of the club or chairwoman of the club, and they behave in a very deceptive, fraudulent manner with you at this time if you are Taurus rising. So watch out for those sorts of situations, either from friends or people within the clubs and groups that you're a part of. Okay, the next sign that we look at is Gemini. Sparkly Gemini. I'll hold this. And the energy is playing out in the 10th house. Here's Gemini, 12th, 11th, 10th house. So there can be some confusion and lack of perspective around your goals and dreams, particularly related to the legacy you want to leave the world, your social standing. You know, you might be a bit confused. You know, you might have thought, well, hey, you know, I'm really popular in this particular realm of life, and then something happens and it's not quite what you thought. You know, for example, you might have, I'll just use a YouTuber example. You might have been, say you're Jack Black and you've started your new gaming channel, which I know all about because my boys are into that, and you've started your new gaming channel, and it's going really, really well, and you release your latest video, and around this time, 14th of January, and it doesn't do as well as you thought, and you're like confused. Well, hang on, I thought I had 2 million subscribers and I've only got maybe, you know, 10,000 views for this video. What did I do wrong? What's going on here, you know? So this is the kind of confusion about something that is, you know, perhaps your career, or it's something to do with a legacy you want to leave, or some sort of worldly aspiration that you have, some sort of visible presence in the world that you want to have. You can be a bit confused about what's going on in those realms of life. You might also increase your fantasy life regarding this sort of thing. Let's use that Jack Black explanation again. And you are, you know, you're Jack Black and you're daydreaming about, oh, if I did this video, then I'm sure that would bring in a lot of the adult gamers as well as the, you know, the young PewDiePie followers. And I know that we, you know, and you start fantasizing and daydreaming about what you could do to enhance your social presence or your visibility in the world, or some sort of career that you're, you know, wanting to build. You really go into fantasy daydream land about what things could look like for you in that realm of life. Also, this is the house of authority figures, like bosses. Anyone who's in governance over you can be seen from this placement as well. Somebody who is, you know, like a judge, somebody who maybe even like a policeman are usually seen from the 6th house, but you could say that in certain situations they are in authority over others. But generally it's talking more about the CEO, the boss, the chief, these sorts of people, anyone in a patriarchal position, mayor of a town, that sort of stuff. And you can be deceived by these people. So watch out if you're Gemini rising for what your boss is doing. Just lay low at work around these days. You know, watch out for what the mayor is up to in your town, or you know, the chief of police. What are they doing? Don't let yourself be deceived by their grandiose words or their, you know, their pretentious actions that might actually be deluding you about what their true motives are. You stand to be quite prone to deception in those areas around this time. So just watch out for that if you're Gemini rising. Cancer rising people. There we are. So Cancer rising people are having this energy play out in their 9th house. And so there can be some confusion and lack of perspective about belief systems, faith systems, religion. You might be a bit deceived by religion at this time. Or you might be deceived by, you know, you thought you'd got into a university degree and you're like, yay, wonderful. And then you get a letter that says, sorry that your application's been rejected, and you're like, what? Hang on, I thought I got into that course. So there can be some, like I said, some confusion, some deception that arises relating to belief systems or realms of higher learning. Also, gurus and teachers, father figures, they're all seen from the 9th house. So watch out for a bit of confusion if you are Cancer rising, confusion regarding the people who are gurus or who are inspirational figures in your life. You can be deceived by these people. You can be deceived by father figures or people who are inspirational figures in your life. So just say you follow some famous inspirational religious person online and they say something or do something and you're like, what? Hang on, that's not what I thought they were or who I thought they were. Is that real? Do I embrace that? Am I being deluded here? So just be very aware, very conscious about the people that you are choosing to be your source of inspiration, your source of wisdom at this time, and take everything with a grain of salt so that you're not duped by these people, whether they're famous people or whether they're people in your physical world realm that you look up to, that you're inspired by. People are, you know, even the most famous, you know, Dalai Lama people, we're all human. We are all human. So just, you know, observe things with a grain of salt and don't allow yourself to be duped. Like I said, fantasy life can be enhanced, and this is one of the good things about this connection. So your daydreams can just really take off when Jupiter expands this Neptunian quality. And of course, this is happening in the realm of the 9th house. It's actually one of the luckiest houses in Vedic astrology, as it trines and the ascendant, in this case for Cancer. And so you can have daydreams. I'll also point out for Cancer people, if you have had one marriage that's ended, the house of the second life partner is the 9th house. So if this is your situation in life where you are single and looking for a second committed life partner, you might be daydreaming about that partner at this time with Neptune's energy of fantasy being expanded there. You might also be fantasizing about you know, being some sort of inspirational figure, being some sort of guru, being an authority figure or a, you know, father figure type person, having that sort of energy of, you know, I am the wise guru kind of thing. And you might be daydreaming about what that might mean for you, what that might look like for you. You might be daydreaming about, you know, getting a PhD in some, you know, like in law or medicine and whatever realm it happens to tickle your fancy. And you might be fantasizing about standing there with your cap and your gown and receiving your certificate or, you know, your degree. And that can also take place as well. So you can be very fanciful about that sort of thing. And of course, fantasy, it's actually a good thing. It's not harmful. I as a strong Pisces person, I fully believe the more we fantasize, the more we go into the realms of daydreaming, the more we put the energy out there into the world within our bodies and in our thought life of our dreams that we can then actually manifest. So the more we allow ourselves to daydream, the more benefit that we can receive as manifestation can actually occur. Or the possibility of increasing the energy of manifestation can occur. There's just a need to be very wary wherever Pisces falls, in this case for Cancer, 9th house, of losing yourself in your fantasies. You know, it's one thing to fantasize and then put energy towards that fantasy, that dream. It's another thing to fantasize as a way of escape because reality sucks so much. So just, you know, examine your motives if you feel that that could be an issue. Why do I constantly go to this fantasy, this daydream? Alrighty, let's move along. Cancer to Leo. Leo rising people, you have this energy playing out in your 8th house. So you stand to have some sort of confusion or a lack of perspective. These are the key words with this transit. Confusion or a lack of perspective regarding when people are doing the dirty on you. You know, this is the house of, you know, underworld activities, criminal activities, being swindled, being abused, being taken advantage of, being exploited. So for Leo people, be really careful with this transit, because this is the time when you can just not see some sort of, you know, shonky scheme being played out in your life, and you can fall prey to that sort of thing, to shonky dealers, to people who would manipulate you and abuse you. So be very, very wary, you know. Don't go buying anything online if you remotely feel like the website you're buying from could be a bit dodgy. Don't go there. Stay away, because this is the time for Leo rising people when it could be very, very difficult. I'll just move that around a bit so that it can be seen better. Yeah, that might be better. So just tread carefully in realms, you know, those sorts of realms. Anything to do with hidden actions for Leo rising people. So, you know, anyone who is acting underhanded. Now, this could be anyone who is, you know, let's face it, anyone who's practicing anything occult or mystic or, esoteric from a dark point of view. So, yep, it's great to explore these realms, and it's great to understand these realms, but also be aware, Leo rising people, that there are people within those realms, within occult, esoteric, mystic practices, who have got a darker worldview in mind, and who want power and control and manipulation of others through those practices. So don't let yourself fall prey to people like that. Now, again, that's the fraudulent, deceptive people that you can come across with this energy. Also, people in the mafia, people in crime syndicates, you know, criminals. You can be deceived by any of those people. Also, though, with 8th house, you could be deceived by some sort of financial advisor as well. Somebody who deals with inheritances, wills, taxation. So watch out for being deceived by a tax agent. Watch out for being deceived by the lawyer for your great aunt's estate. You know, really, you've got to have your eyes wide open in those realms. And finally, fantasy life. Now, this is actually where it takes a turn for the better for Leo rising people. Your fantasy life can have a lot to do with your sex life at this time. So you might be having wonderful fantasies about some sexual scenario or role play situation. It's actually a lot of fun. So you can really enhance this beautiful energy, which, you know, of fantasy regarding your sex life. And if you've got a partner, by all means, you can really go to town with this. You want to dress up. I mean, this is Neptune. It's a planet of creating illusions. It's very glamorous, and so you might like to dress up and have a bit of fun at this time. So lucky Leos in this sense. There's a lot of playfulness, a lot of fun, and a lot of fantasy and illusion that can actually play out very strongly and enjoyably for you guys. All right, Virgo people, this energy is playing out in your 7th house. So for Virgo rising people, there can be some confusion, some lack of perspective on your committed partnerships. Now, this could be a business partnership that you're a bit confused about. It could be a contractual situation, actually. In fact, if you are Virgo rising, do not sign any agreements, any contracts until the week is over. I would give yourself plenty of space with this. If it was me, I would be allowing 4 to 5 days out from the 14th, just to make sure this energy is done with. Because, you know, this is the house of contracts where Neptune's sitting. So you stand to be deluded, deceived, manipulated by this expanded Neptunian energy in your 7th house of business contracts, business partnerships. So be very, very wary. Also, relationships, committed partnerships with your marriage partner. So watch out for being deluded by your marriage partner as well as your business partner. Watch out for them, a fraudulent business partner at this time. Watch out for any type of confusion with your relationship. maybe, you know, you asked your partner to, you know, hey, when you're down at the shops, could you pick me up, you know, a block of chocolate, please? And they come back and they haven't got a block of chocolate, and they bought you a lettuce instead, and they say, oh, you know, I thought a lettuce would be better for you. And you're like, what do you mean? What are you trying to tell me here with a lettuce instead of a block of chocolate? What are you saying? You know, there can be confusion, a lack of perspective, or like, what's going on here? Misunderstandings, deceptions, or you know, confusion basically that can occur. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone. How tragic. You want chocolate, you get a lettuce. No thanks. So this is an energy that can play out where you are deceived, or there's some confusion regarding marriage, business partners, any type of contract. Also, your fantasy life can be enhanced in this realm of life as well. So you might find yourself staring out the window, imagining, oh, imagine if I started this business and I did that, and then we marketed it this way, and then, oh look, I could see us really taking off, and we'd probably get some sort of award, and I'd become rich. And you just can really go down that road with your fantasies about a business idea, and also about potential relationship partners. If you happen to be single, you might actually, you know, see someone from a distance at a cafe and think, oh my goodness, they're a bit of all right. And then you know, you're sipping your coffee and staring off into space. You notice my eyes are off in other realms as I do this, and you're just imagining, oh, what might life be like with somebody who was like that, you know, and you fantasize about having a committed partnership with some fantasy person. Someone you spot in a magazine, or somebody that you read about online, or somebody that you see in a cafe, and you just have these daydreams that really, you might notice that happening a lot more with this Jupiter transit square Neptune. So Libra rising people is going to see the energy of this Pisces Neptune playing out in the 6th house. Now, for Libra rising people, this means there can be some confusion, lack of perspective with regard to 6th house things and 6th house people. So confusion, lack of perspective with regard to the enemies in your life. 6th house is our enemies. 6th house is also our subordinates, people that are lower than us. If we happen to be an employer, it's the people that we employ. If it's, you know, if you hire someone to come and clean your house, well, that's somebody who is considered a 6th house person in your life. So anyone of that nature, you can have some confusion about. You can have a lack of perspective about. You can also stand to be deceived by them. They might swindle you in some way. Like, just say you've got someone that you hire to come and clean your house. They come clean your house. You pop down to the shops. When you come back, they say, yeah, clean that bathroom. No worries. And you go and look at the bathroom. You're like, they did not clean this bathroom. They are swindling me. They're deceiving me. So just watch out for that sort of energy playing out for you with people who are your subordinates, also with people who might be your enemies in life. Let's face it, you know, not all of us get through life without having others who are against us, unfortunately, no matter how angelic we are. That can sometimes play out. So if you are Libra rising, watch out for that energy happening in your life. And like I said, there can be some confusion and a lack of perspective also regarding your health. You know, you might have been told, don't eat carbs. Carbs are bad for you. Don't eat potatoes, you know, that falls into the carbs category, really bad for you. And then you read another article that says, potatoes are so good for you. They're packed with these nutrients. They're really, should be part of everyone's staple diet. And you're like, what? I don't understand. I'm confused. I'm getting, you know, alternate pieces of advice here. Nothing adds up. So there can be some confusion around your health, your diet, your well-being, confusion around your work life as well. You know, the boss rings up and say, hey, don't come in today. I know you were rostered on, but we don't need you. And you're like, what? I thought I was guaranteed to have, you know, 35 hours of work this week. And, you know, you just ring me in the morning and say, don't come in. What's going on? And there can be some confusion, and you're just not quite clear about what's going on. So some deception, confusion, lack of perspective. Now, fantasy life is also increased when Neptune is expanded by Jupiter. So you can find that you might fantasize about being a personal trainer, about having this super wonderful physique. This is the house of health and well-being. You know, you might fantasize about looking fantastic, you know, physically. Like if I go to the gym, you know, if I do that for say a month, if I go every day for a month, oh wow, I am going to have like great biceps. Or you know, if I stick to this diet, this is what it's going to result in. I'm going to have more energy and more drive, and so you dream and daydream and fantasize about what it's going to look like regarding your health, regarding your working life. You might even fantasize about, you know, taking somebody to court. Sixth house is connected to that sort of thing. You might fantasize about taking somebody to court and you know, winning and sort of being able to go, done and dusted with you, thanks very much, enemy. You know, so this is the kind of realms that your fantasies might run to over this period of time, the 14th of January. All right, Libra to Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio rising people is going to see this energy happening. Pisces will trine, or Scorpio, Pisces forms a trine with your ascendant. And this is playing out, therefore, in your 5th house for Scorpio rising people. So this is the house of pleasure, of fun, of joy. It's the house of children. It's the house of creative expression. It's also the house of our lovers, love affairs. So watch out for confusion and lack of perspective regarding your not committed partnerships, but if you are in a romantic dating sort of situation. You might be confused. Does this person like me or not? They you know, they've told me that they like me, and yet they never answer any of my phone calls. Or, you know, I thought we were a thing, and then I saw him out with another girl. You know, there can be some confusion regarding what's going on in your love life. So just be aware that that could happen on many different levels. It doesn't have to be tragedy, there he is with another woman, but just be aware there can be some confusion regarding your love life, or confusion regarding your children. You know, you might have arranged with their dad that, you know, he would take them someplace over the school holidays, and then he doesn't show up, and you're like, hang on a minute, I thought that your kids were going with you, and sort of like, what's going on here? You know, you're feeling a little bit, hang on, I'm not really up with where we're at with the kids and taking care of the kids. And so a bit of confusion regarding children at this period of time. Watch out also for fraudulent, deceptive people. Now, I don't know, in Australia we have this show called A Current Affair, which I never watch, because every time I do, there's always some report about some elderly woman who went online because she was lonely. She met some young man who, you know, pretended to like her and duped her of her fortune because she thought he was in love with her. You know, you hear stories like this all the time. Crazy world that we live in. You know, and so this is the kind of thing that can happen when you are a Scorpio rising person and this energy is playing out for you in your 5th house of love affairs. You might think someone's in love with you, and then it turns out they're really after your money, or they really wanted, you know, to steal your TV, you know, or anything. Like, watch out for deceptive, fraudulent people in your love life with this transit. Now, fantasy life, Scorpio, can also be enhanced in the 5th house realm. You might be having fabulous daydreams at this time regarding some sort of fun or joy that you can experience. Maybe you book a ticket to, you know, a cruise, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be good times. It's going to be pleasurable. 5th house. And you know, spend a bit of time daydreaming about what might happen on this, you know, this getaway. What might happen, you know, you book a ticket to a concert, and oh, what might that be like? Oh, it's going to be great. We're going to listen to their music, and we might go out for dinner first, and you sort of daydream about it. Fun, pleasure, joy, those sorts of experiences. You might also fantasize about your own creativity. You might get an inspirational idea, divinely inspired, very Neptune, about, you know, I could do this particular artwork, and then it would look like this, and you know what, I could probably nearly do one of those artworks every second day, and I could sell them on eBay, and I'd be expressing my love of art and this particular style of art, and you know, people would buy it, and then I could do it for a living, and you go off on this trajectory about how to utilize in your life and get more pleasure and joy out of your particular personal self-expression. That can happen. Plus, naturally enough, you might fantasize about, if I have children, they'll be like this. I'm sure they'll be, you know, well-mannered, lovely, and they'll be very obedient. And you fantasize and create some delusions about exactly what it's going to be like when you have children. Equally, you can do that with partnerships as well. You can create some fantasies and daydreams around, oh, well, you know, I might fall in love with a man who does this, or a woman who looks like this, and you go down that fantasy road with potential lovers and the idea of potential lovers. So that can occur for anyone who is Scorpio rising. Enjoy it. It's a passing transit, and it's lots of that element of it. The fantasy element is lots of fun. Sagittarius rising. My poor old arrow needs replacing. He's a little bit worn out. Stay. Sagittarius rising is going to see Neptune Pisces energy enhanced, invigorated in the 4th house. So you might experience a time of confusion with regard to family. You know, your mum says, hey, come for dinner on Sunday for lunch, and we'll have Auntie Kate and her kids, they're coming over too, and we'll all just get together. And you rock up on Sunday and you're like, where is everyone? And they're like, oh, no, we met, you know, in a month's time. And you're like, well, hang on, I thought. So there's some confusion that can play out with your contacts and experiences with family at this time. A bit of lack of perspective regarding family can unfold as well. You know, you might have thought you had a certain ancestry. This is the house of lineage, heritage, your roots, the community that you come from, or the community you grew up in, or the country that your family genetic line has come from. So you might at this time be a bit confused about that. Well, hang on, I thought Grandma said that we all descended from this German fellow, when now you're telling me that, you know, we've got South African in us, and you know, hang on a minute, what is reality here? What's the truth here? You can be a bit confused about that sort of thing, about your heritage, your roots, your lineage, or even your connection with your mother. This is the house of the mother. So your connection with matriarchal figures, nurturing figures in your life, might be a little bit confused, a bit like boundaryless at this time, and mum's a bit more dominating, or grandma's a bit more manipulative or something at this time. Neptune dissolves boundaries, and in this case it's with matriarchal figures rather than patriarchal figures. So watch out for that. Watch out for being deceived by family members, by someone from your family, you know, down the family line. Maybe your great grandpa tells you, hey, I'm going to leave you this pocket watch in my will. And you're like, hey. And it turns out that's not the case at all. You've been deceived and duped. He's really going to leave it to his son, you know. So just some crazy, silly examples there. But, you know, we can all have fraudulent and deceptive people, even within our own families. So just have your wits about you in your family dealings at this time if you happen to be Sagittarius rising. Also, your fantasy life can really take off at this time in realms associated with family, heritage, roots, lineage, and also home and property. So if you're Sagittarius rising, you might be quite inclined at this time to daydream about living overseas. Pisces is overseas. This is your 4th house. And you might go down the road of, oh, look, what if I had a villa in Italy? And then I could, you know, I'd have access to go to Paris every couple of weeks. And, and you daydream about what it would mean if you lived in another part of the world. And what that would look like if you had a house. You fantasize about a certain property that's, quite aspirational for you. And so you have these big, maybe sometimes a bit overblown daydreams about some sort of property, some sort of house, living in another country, having, creating different family dynamics, that could be something you fantasize about as well. Having a family of your own might be something that you fantasize about with the 4th house Neptune. So for you Sagittarius rising people, this is what it can actually look like for you with this transit. Sagittarius to Capricorn, where you've got all this heavy duty energy playing out for you guys right now. This is sort of gonna, what I'll point out for you guys is that this energy is being trined. And if you've got your ascendant at 14 degrees Capricorn, this is just a special tidbit for you Capricorn people. This is going to be a trine to Neptune here. So that could be quite interesting if you have your ascendant here. It could be more positive for you guys than negative. If your ascendant is in the middle degrees, 14 degrees of Capricorn, this energy might be very well supported right now. In fact, Saturn is very close, not bang on, but close there as well. So he could be giving some structure to this energy for you guys, especially mid degrees, like I said. So the energy here is one of confusion, one of lack regarding your 3rd house. So you might be, 3rd house rules communications, how you learn, how you speak, how you write. It also rules your relatives. So not so much your family ancestry and lineage, but your relatives, your cousins, your siblings, great aunt Lucy, you know, it rules all your relatives generally. And so you can have some confusion and lack of perspective about perhaps something that you're thinking of learning. You know, maybe you're thinking of doing a course in aged care, and you're a bit confused. Well, hang on, I thought that I'd receive some funding if I did that course, and doesn't look like I'm going to. So what's really going on here? And you can be a bit confused about some sort of course you're thinking of doing, or some kind of communications. Maybe you're offered an opportunity to write an article for a magazine or an online blog or something, and you think you're going to get paid, and they say, oh no way, no, your articles are free, and it's publicity for you, you should be glad about that. And you're like, hang on a minute, I think I've been duped, I think I've been deceived here. So these kinds of scenarios can play out. There can be confusion, lack of perspective, deception and fraud by people towards you in realms of publishing, speaking, writing, communications, also from your relatives. They might be, you know, your cousin might sort of do some sort of underhanded dealing, deceptive dealing with, you know, your brother, that sort of dupes you out of some sort of inheritance that you deserve to have, or some sort of business deal. I mean, the 3rd house is connected to making money off our own back, you know, small business. And so, you know, maybe one of your relatives might do a dodgy deal business-wise with you, and you're deceived and you're duped. So again, watch out for those sorts of things, and your relatives and siblings sort of doing the dirty on you if you happen to be Capricorn rising. Now, not everybody is going to have, you know, a family where the brothers and sisters and cousins deceive one another, but it does happen, you know, it's not unheard of, that's for sure. But on the good side here, for Capricorn rising people, your fantasy life is going to be enhanced, and you're going to be just the master at this time of daydreaming about potential business ideas. You know, maybe you'll be able to dream up some sort of entrepreneurial scheme that you can make money from. You might be, you know, you can fantasize about doing some sort of a course, or writing some sort of book, or doing some sort of speaking. You might find yourself staring out the window and daydreaming about being a famous TED Talk communicator. And, you know, what would I speak on if it was me and I was asked to do a TED Talk? What would I speak on? What would I say? And you could lose a couple of hours just daydreaming and making up your speech that you would give for TED Talks in your head if you're Capricorn rising at this time. So that's the more positive component of this transit for you guys. Okay, I'll just rub this out, and then we'll look at Aquarius rising. So Aquarius rising is going to see the energy of Neptune and Pisces playing out for positive or negative in the second house. So this means that for Aquarius rising people, just watch out at this time. Watch out for having some confusion, maybe a lack of perspective regarding second house things. So this could be, you know, resources, money, and sense of self-worth and self-value is seen by the second house. You might be confused about your financial situation. So for you guys, I would put a real alarm bell around putting some secure practices in place connected to money at this time. You know, you may have heard me speak in the beginning of this video about saying, you know, I'm only going to spend $100 over this 2-day period. I'm going to be really strict because I'm not going to be duped with my money. I'm not going to be swindled with my money. This particularly applies to you Aquarius rising people. So watch out for confusion regarding finances, regarding anything to do with your home. This is one of your resources for living. Anything to do with your clothing and your food, your car, anything that is a resource for your life, a resource that helps your body to live and survive. Watch out for being duped by people who haven't got your best interest in mind, people who want to take your stuff away from you, people who want, you know, are a bit jealous maybe even of your, I don't know, you might have a wonderful art collection at home and you know, watch out for somebody who might be a bit jealous of that or be, you know, who's going to try and deceive you into buying, you know, another artwork. Like I'll give you an example. I love the artist Shag, Californian artist, and I've quite a number of his artworks, and you know, you would need to watch out for someone trying to sell you a Shag artwork that wasn't the real deal, that was some knockoff, some you know, pretentious, non-original. So that might be the case for Aquarius rising people. So watch out for any deception or confusion even regarding your resources. Now you can have a fantasy enhanced fantasy life regarding your resources, also regarding your sense of self-worth. So you might sort of find yourself staring out the window and daydreaming about, you know, being in a situation where you are so highly regarded, where you're very well respected, where you're honored in some way, sense of self-worth, sense of self-value. You might also be fantasizing about having more money, having more resources. Oh, imagine if I lived in Palm Springs and I had a mid-century modern house and it was decorated like this and that, and you know, we could go out to cocktail parties and I'd host cocktail parties at my house and all my friends would come, and you go down this fantasy road about possessions, about the things you have, about your resources for living and how fabulous it could be. What if, you know? So it's a time when your fantasies in those areas of life can be very much expanded by Jupiter's connection. And finally, Pisces people, this energy is playing out in your first house. So you need to, here we go, you need to watch out for confusion and lack of perspective in everything in life. This is the house of your body's journey through this lifetime. It's what you're going to need to survive is seen by the first house. Your ability to stand on your own 2 feet is seen by the first house. So you can be confused about how to assert yourself. You know, maybe you're thinking, I really should write my ex-husband a letter, and you write a letter and you're just like, I don't think that's it. I don't think I'm asserting myself properly, and I don't know what to say. And you can be very confused about how to stand on your own 2 feet, how to assert yourself, how to put boundaries appropriately in place. Now this is a challenge for Pisces people at the best of times, but when you've got this energy playing out, it's even more difficult. So you guys could seek some support and wisdom and advice from people you respect and trust, people you know for sure have your back. People who can help you assert yourself, help you put appropriate boundaries in place, help you make wise decisions about your ability to survive and thrive. So also at this time, you stand to be deceived by people who don't want you to survive and thrive. People who have a vested interest in seeing you fail. Now, unfortunately, life can be like that. People don't always have our back. Maybe you had a falling out with a boss a couple of years ago, and you know, you have managed to, you know, have a good life ever since then. But they are actually wanting to see you fall flat on your face. So, you know, maybe something happens with them, that's them being fraudulent, them being deceptive. They don't want to see you survive and thrive. Maybe you had an issue with a friend that was a falling out a long time ago, and that can come back and to haunt you. So anybody from any realm of life, friendships, relationships, work scenarios, legal matters, like any scenario where somebody does not have your best interest and your ability to thrive in mind, can receive some kind of a kick in the guts. So watch out for that. Watch out for being deceived in that realm. So you can actually have some confusion and lack of perspective and dealings with fraudulent or difficult people in all of those, you know, any realm in life. Anything that's got to do with your ability to survive can be impacted. Now, for Pisces people, this is old news for Pisces people. Your fantasy life is going to be enhanced. Go Pisces, because Jupiter connecting to Neptune, your ruling planet, both of these are your ruling planets actually. And of course, Jupiter's coming from the 10th house of career. Jupiter is also your traditional first house lord if you're Pisces rising. So you can actually be having some fantasies and visions and daydreams regarding career as well. So it kind of goes both ways for Pisces rising people. You can be having fantasies about life in general, about thriving, about surviving, about being a success, about being visible in the world, about being appreciated, about having warmth and love and compassion and kindness, all these Neptunian things. You know, you have fantasies about those realms of your life, you know, about being having enough money to be a compassionate person and to give more abundantly than you can right now, maybe in your circumstances. You can fantasize about all that sort of thing, plus fantasizing Lord of your first house in traditional astrology. In the 10th house, you'll be fantasizing about career achievement, about the legacy you want to leave the world, what you can do to have some social recognition and appreciation, and all of these realms you can be heading into fantasy land regarding, which is nice. It's pleasant, it's fun, it's uplifting, and Pisces particularly gets very energized about our fantasy life. The one word of warning, and I'm speaking to myself as much as anybody, is the tendency for Pisces people to lose themselves in fantasy. So just watch out, because it's going to be expanded for you around the 14th of January. Watch out for going down that rabbit hole too deep, you know, and failing to engage with reality because your fantasy life is just so expanded at this time. For Pisces people, your dream life generally is usually quite karmic, quite profound, quite strong. Anyhow, it can be magnified also at this time. You might have very karmic dreams. In fact, I have found since the eclipse on the 6th that I am having a lot of dreams that are karmic purging. And, you know, I wake up in the morning feeling like lighter in the morning, not just because I've had a good night's sleep. Pisces loves sleep. But I've been waking up feeling emotionally lighter, karmically lighter, more energized at a soul level since the eclipse after my dream life, you know, which has been very, very telling. Write down your dreams if you're Pisces rising, particularly with this transit. Write down your dreams, because it's going to tell you a lot spiritually, evolutionary wise, and soul wise about where you're at right now too, with this square from your ruling traditional planet to your modern ruler. Very, very powerful for Pisces people at the moment, I'm pleased to say. So that is the transit of Jupiter square Neptune. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's the first of 3 hits that's going to occur, therefore it's going to be the most powerful. Usually the first hit packs the biggest punch. The other 2 will as well, but this will be the most noticeable energy. And it happens quite rarely, you know, every 6 years or so you'll get this transit happening. So it's not an annual event, it's more rare than that, so it is quite powerful. So the final energy we want to look at before we conclude is what's happening on the 14th. This is when Mercury will be conjuncting with Saturn. Here's Mercury up here conjuncting with Saturn, and this is going to happen a little later in the day after these 2 make a connection. So generally what happens when you've got Mercury connecting with Saturn? Well, in a different sense to these guys, Mercury conjunct Saturn happens once a year. So it's not an unfamiliar energy. It happens annually, and so there's a familiarity about it much more than this energy. But it's a little bit like, I've got to say, a little bit like Mercury retrograde energy, to be honest. So just prepare for that. This will be playing out as well. This means that your ideas, your convictions, your thought life, they might be somewhat challenged at this time. You know, you might, you know, your belief systems might be challenged, but more so your thought life. In fact, your mental processes can slow down. Saturn is the planet of slow, steady pace, you know, taking your time. Father Time is Saturn. And Mercury, which is ordinarily a very quick, youthful, bright Peter Pan type energy, it's slowed down by the heaviness of Saturn and the influence of Saturn. So you're going to think more slowly, you're going to speak more slowly, you're going to communicate more slowly, you're going to learn more slowly. So keep that in mind. If you need to do some quick thinking, don't leave that situation till the 14th, because Saturn will be slowing your mental processes. In fact, if you need to do an exam, if there's any way to postpone it, like say you have to sit for your driver's license, put it off until later in the week when this energy is over and done with, because your mental capacity is not going to be functioning at its best. Your confidence and enthusiasm could also be a bit low with this transit as well, so just be careful of that. Like Mercury retrograde, there could be problems with any communicative technology. Mercury rules cars, Mercury rules devices, Mercury can rule some tech gadgetry as well. So Saturn can cause blockage and restriction with those things in life. So watch out for traffic jams, blockage, restriction of cars, you know. Watch out for traffic jams, watch out for faulty devices or trouble with devices, things not working properly. Watch out for anything to do with tech that, you know, isn't working properly. In fact, on this day, I just received a letter in the mail yesterday saying that on this particular day, the electricity, which is a Uranus thing, but the electricity is not going to be connected, and they're going to be doing something with the power, which just so happens it's going to be 40 degrees Celsius that day, so we're all going to have no electronic device, no computers, no printers, no air conditioning. It's going to be a lot of fun. School holidays, oh god. But that's happening on this day too. So our ability to use our tech gadgetry, our devices, the stuff we need to keep cool, this is a very cool planet, it's all going to be restricted for us here in where I live in Australia. So that's a very, I can see this energy coming already. So if this is, you know, this is going to impact people generally around the world, maybe in different ways. Maybe we're not all going to go without electricity on this particular day. So it's also a day that is not good for negotiations. Don't sign business contracts here as well. Again, it's happening on this same day, so you wouldn't, with this energy alone, you wouldn't be signing contracts, but doubly so because Saturn conjunct with Mercury. So no negotiations, no business meetings, no signing contracts, not supported energetically at all by the universe. Now there may also be karma with regard to things that you have spoken or written or communicated in the past. So just say you told somebody off, you lost your shit with someone and you said, you know, you can leave me alone and never come back again and I don't want to have anything to do with you. Well, hello, there might be some karma for that comes back to haunt you. Something you've said, something you've written, something that you have communicated to another person, and now the karma might come back to you. Positive or negative, I'm just giving a negative scenario there, but it can be positive or negative. You can also watch out, because this is also occurring in the sign of Capricorn, which is authority figures, and Saturn connected to authority figures. Authority figures might be a bit verbally abusive. Mercury is verbal, and anything written as well from an authority figure. They can be perhaps a bit aggressive, a bit blocking, a bit sort of, Saturn's a very critical planet, so there could be some criticism from an authority figure, or somebody in charge, or who's, you know, say above you in the social rank of things. You might get some sort of criticism or verbal harshness from an authority figure. So the way we deal with this energy is to take it easy as much as possible. We need to reduce our mental strain. So, you know, don't go trying to study astrophysics on this day unless you're particularly passionate about it and it's actually, you know, a big hobby of yours. But generally, you know, if you need to study for an exam and that sort of thing, it's not a good day for doing it, because it's just, you might actually be able to retain the information. Saturn hangs on to things and clings on to things, but your mental process is not going to be up to par. So what you might ordinarily remember in half an hour of reading, you might take you 3 hours to get to that same, you know, understanding or level of, you know, you're going to have to repeat things more. Saturn is repetitiveness and Mercury is learning. And I can tell you this is the case, because natally I have Saturn and Mercury conjunct in my chart, and I have to read books over and over and over again, and I find something new and insightful and empowering every time I do. And it means I need to repeat stuff in order to learn it and to grasp it fully. It just takes more time to really get your head around things, and you can also be a bit more of a perfectionist with regards to how you communicate, and it's taken me a while to get to this stage with my videos of being able to communicate without having to edit and cut it down because I didn't like what I said there, or you didn't say the right thing there that you know, that sounded good. And you know, you can be incredibly critical of your own communication processes and techniques when you've got Saturn, Mercury in the natal chart. You're just phenomenally critical about your own learning, your own communication, your own writing, and your own speaking. So this can actually play out collectively on this day as well. So like I said, take it easy as much as possible. Don't put any mental pressure or stress on yourself where possible. Be very careful also on the road. Mercury rules cars. Like I said, Saturn rules blockages, so there can be traffic jams. Don't go driving to the CBD on this day if you can avoid it. You know, whatever city you live in, it doesn't matter. You know, any type of driving long distances or even just a short drive can, you know, cause you frustration through this energy as well. So that is it in a nutshell, quite a large nutshell, of what is playing out for us in the week ahead. It's a very dynamic week. It's a powerful week. There's a lot of energy shifts. It's a follow-on from the eclipse on the 6th, and it's building up to the next eclipse, which off the top of my head I think is the 21st or 22nd. So we're in the mid range now of the energies that are heading from one eclipse to another. So it's also a powerful time of purging, of continuing to process the energy that the eclipse brought about for us. So I mean, enjoy it. Watch what's, you know, act in a detached way and observe what's happening in your life, and understand that it's all the energies playing out to help you up level, to increase your experience and your capacity to understand how life works. So I'll close with a prayer. Thanks for joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Loving universe, we thank you for the energy that is playing out this week. We look forward to our increased fantasy life and all the fun and pleasure that will bring us. And we also thank you for the ability to look ahead and see what's coming up for us in ways that are going to be more challenging, so that we can be prepared and make plans and set things in place to cope with more difficult energies as best we can. Thank you for this wisdom that's been imparted to us, and I just pray for everyone who's watching this video that they are empowered and that they will have a very blessed week, including me. And so it is. And thanks for joining me once again.